Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
Today's big question is, what concerns and hopes do you have for the 2020s, meaning the decade that we are almost 1/8 of the way through? My concerns are these. Tribalism is killing American democracy, or so says Thomas Koenig in a recent article in National Review. Yes, I do have a subscription to the National Review, which is a very conservative magazine, but what the heck. He claims that reason and debate have fallen by the wayside, leaving us with just a mindless us versus them mentality, Republicans versus Democrats and vice versa. Each has its own set of opinions and they're unwilling to debate rationally or compromise, as is evidenced by gridlock in Congress that we've seen for the past, I don't know how long. But, and each side also blames the other. Now, we're now at the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And I've been hearing some retrospectives in the news, especially on NPR, about how Republicans and Democrats came together after the attacks in a concerted effort, I guess, to fight terrorism in general, and a host of issues, including how to have a military response, to pass the overreaching Patriot Act, to also to compensate victims of the attacks, including those who were not even United States citizens, which I've heard some commentators say that probably wouldn't happen in today's environment. Maybe that's true. Here in 2020, though, or here in the 2020s, just last year, we had a different kind of attack, a virus, COVID-19, and we've seen complete disagreement, and it's almost about how to deal with it, whether even if it was worth dealing with. And it seemed to be on partisan lines, on Republicans think one thing and Democrats think the other, whether you should wear a mask or not, whether lockdowns should happen at all, how to deal with the virus, whether people should be vaccinated or not. And recently, we couldn't even agree on whether the presidential election was fair or not, and that a lot of Republicans think that it was stolen. We can't agree on which news is real and which news is fake, or whether climate change is the result of human activity, burning of fossil fuels or not. And because of this, I think I'm concerned about what's going to happen, for example, in the next presidential election. If it's a close one, are we going to go through the same arguments of whether it was stolen? Those are my concerns. My hopes are, for the coming decade, that one of my hopes is that the mRNA vaccine will prove to be effective. It's already proven to be effective, but in long term, it won't have adverse side effects, which I think is scaring other people. I don't know, for the reasons to be hesitant. And also that the mRNA technology will be used to fight other chronic illnesses, including cystic fibrosis, maybe HIV, and a host of other diseases. So that's hopeful. And if people do see that works, they will be less skeptical of medical science and public health officials. Another hopeful thing is that recently we've had some natural disasters caused by what people call extreme weather, Hurricane Ida, flooding and such. And communities have come together to help each other, Republicans and Democrats alike. And maybe this will spark grassroots reconciliation, and people will see that they can have empathy for each other and hear each other's opinions and save our democracy, which, according to the National Review article, is in danger. So those are my hopes for our decade.
I started, thinking just about my own my own life and family first within the decade, and was thinking by 2030, I hope all three of my kids have either graduated or know what they love and doing something that they love as adults, because they'll all be adults by then. I hope that my marriage is thriving still at that point in the next 10 years. I hope the milkmen are still active and alive. I hope the planet is still habitable. I hope women are paid equally. I hope African American men and women suspected of a crime can get due process. I hope people have fewer screens. I hope we have fewer gas cars, and that everybody's vaccinated for COVID. And my concerns are that none of those things are going to happen.
There's no laughs in this episode, people.
Except that. You can just lose that.
Okay, so yeah, Joe, this question was extremely wide open. I decided to take the bullet point approach, and I have three things that concern me and three things that I hope for. I'll start with the concerns. Number one is I'm concerned that somebody dumber and more damaging and vapid than Trump gets elected president again. The list of people that fall into that category is endless, because we all live in a country of selfish morons. Number two, my concern is that in some near future, initially small war type of skirmish, somehow we slip into someone using a nuclear missile. And that's most likely by a ding-dong of the type mentioned in my first concern. Talking about Korea or Taiwan or the Middle East somewhere. You never know. My third concern that I'll list tonight is that the last 2 years have had no effect on the behavior of people when we encounter the next global pandemic or virus that you have to admit will probably be around the corner. So, my concern is that people haven't learned their lesson yet. So let's talk about some hopeful things that I wish for. When I am king, number one, I would hope for the quick end of the oil and gas industry, and then it morphs into clean solar and wind power for, being the prevalent source of energy for the world. I hope for a giant shift of funding for the industrial military complex gets moved to support education, science, and the arts. And the third one is I hope for liberty and justice for all, regardless of race, color, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. Although my hope is also that organized religion will disappear. That's it.
Mine, not that much. I've really only got one hope for the next decade, and that is that I hope before the next, before we hit December 31st on 2029, that I can trick a bunch of fucking morons into drinking a bunch of bull semen.
Okay.
I'll explain. Okay.
You have plenty of time.
Yeah, we are living in a golden age of fucking morons. The other day, some anti-masker tried to get off a plane in mid-flight. He demanded. I would have let him off. I would have let him plummet. Just today,
Cooper did it.
Yeah, a hospital found a guy who was sticking batteries up his ass in order to get more energy. For decades now, I've been trying to deal with these people using things like logic and facts and getting nowhere. It's been like, I shot up a pizza parlor. Oh, Bubba Joe John Boy Jr., why did you shoot up the pizza parlor? They was kidnapping babies and keeping them in the basement. They don't actually have a basement. I shot up a pizza parlor. Not anymore. I'm not going to stress anymore trying to explain things to morons. I'm just going to say, if you really want to stick it to that baby kidnapping liberal deep state, drink this 2-liter bottle of bull semen. Just drink the bull semen. The liberals will go away.
It's what plants crave.
Yeah, why should the Trumps and the Rogans and the Joneses of the world get to have all the fun by getting idiots to drink things like bleach and horse dewormer? Okay, what about me? What about my fun? When's my time, oh Lord? Lord, when's my time? I'm going to spend the next decade creating a bunch of fake Twitter accounts with names like Dirk Carnivore. There'll be a guy with like a machine gun, and I'll put stuff on there like, don't listen to the liberal media, those fancy pants doctors. The only cure for COVID is bull semen. The fresher, the better. It's going to be great. It's like, what you doing in there, son? Doing my own research, Dad. Funny because they're always like, I did my own research. The possibilities for this are endless, okay? The all lives matter guy? All lives matter. You say, hey, mister, all lives don't matter unless you drink this 2-liter bottle of bull semen. It's going to be great. It's going to be great with cops. Like, you kids got beer in that car? No, officer, just bull semen. Carry on. Thank you. Blue lives matter. If you want to show your support for the fucking morons who attacked this country, who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, wait, I'm sorry, brave, patriotic fucking morons, what you could do is you could organize a bull semen drinking rally, hopefully in the middle of traffic. It'd be great. These are the people who thought that JFK Jr. was coming back from the dead. So they've swallowed a lot of bullshit. A little bull semen shouldn't seem that bad.
Every time you see a red hat, take it.
Yeah, that's right. The QAnon shaman. Okay, if he's lucky, the worst thing to pass over his lips in the next couple of years in prison gonna be bull semen. And I know I'm a little off topic here on this one, but guys, we are sitting on top of a gold mine. We need to make Aranon shirts. Like, like one better than QAnon. And we just put on the back, like, twice as alive as JFK Jr. and just as sexy. Or we could put where one of us goes, we leave a little puddle. So there you go. That is my thing. And the next 10 years, I'm going to try to get a bunch of fucking idiots to drink bull semen. And you can disagree with me, but if you do, that means you hate the baby Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
We should go right to recommendations.
Recommendations. I have recommendations for a book I just read, but it was written in 1993, and it's David Halberstam's The 50s. An interesting decade. It's not the innocent decade as portrayed, of course, in Leave It to Beaver or I Love Lucy or even The Happy Days. But it's an entertaining decade the way that Mr. Halberstam writes about it. He doesn't write chronologically, but he takes subjects and writes about each subject more or less chronologically. So there's a chapter about the Beats. There's a chapter about the Levittown housing projects. And
what about rock and roll?
Rock and roll, yes. Entertainment and business and advertising, television itself, military industrial complex, stuff like that.
I'll check it out. I would like to recommend that you take a brief stint in nature next time you can. Rodney, I know you're not a huge fan of nature, but I know you've been at the bio pond, so it's close enough. But I've found myself doing this almost every day, and it wasn't intentional, but it's nice. I don't know. I've been walking around like with a kid or two.
The photos you've been posting have been great.
What?
The photos you've been posting have been great.
Oh yeah, I feel like every time I go out, I find some quirky things, and plus we just had a lot of storms and a lot of weird stuff happening in the woods. I always go off the, and my sub recommendation is that you go off the path too.
Did you see the Blair Witch?
Find some interesting mushrooms and fungi. But before you eat them, look them up.
No, don't eat yet.
I don't think I'd eat any of them.
He's never seen the Blair Witch or Deliverance. No, I'm not going camping.
No, it's not camping. Just walk around in nature. You can't take a walk.
It's the same thing. They were walking around in nature.
Yeah,
All right, they were canoeing. Technically, they were canoeing. Like,
Just a
what do you think
movie.
those fellas want? You know, I'm just saying.
That was a documentary, Joe.
Oh, I thought it was a made-up movie.
No, it was. You know, it's a
Yes.
documentary. It's a
Yes,
real. It's
documentary.
real. It really happened.
You really saw it. Yeah.
You know, there was a sequel and everything.
Don't talk. The second sequel I actually defend, but the reboot, no.
Let's see. This week I have 2 recommendations from YouTube. One is a specific, very short video. It's humorous. It's a video about how to make a Netflix-style documentary. It's by someone named Paul E.T. He explains how to do it in about 2 minutes, and then he makes like a 2-minute, very, very funny little mini documentary in the style of Netflix. It kind of reminded me of like the documentary reminded me of like a Kids in the Hall skit, so you might want to check it out. The second YouTube recommendation is for a channel. There are not that many videos, maybe a dozen or so. It's a YouTube channel called the New Yorkshire Workshop, and it's a master carpenter guy. He's probably in his like 30s in England, and I like his videos because you get to watch him make stuff, but he doesn't talk, and it's just the sounds, minimal sounds of the shop and the power tools and stuff that he's using, with his sometimes very funny subtitles about what he's doing. And like the other day, he had a video, and in one spot he made a wrong cut, and he stepped back and he said, "Let's pause for a moment while I contemplate the mistake I just made." And he makes videos like for a business. I think he's been in business for over a dozen years. He makes like really high-end like cabinetry and bases for like high-end audio equipment, like turntables and receivers and amplifiers and stuff, like really beautiful wooden things. But he also has videos about, he apparently he has an old house that he's slowly restoring. There's a great series of videos on him restoring this old staircase in his house. The one I just watched, which I'll provide a link to, or recommend a link to, is he shows you how it's a 4-part video series, how he made his Victorian style front door, complete with kind of fake stained glass and stuff. They're not very long too. They're only like 20 minutes or half an hour. So highly recommended, very meditative, kind of Zen-like. And I love it that there's no music and he doesn't talk. So it's kind of cool. All right, that's it.
Okay. As usual, I recommend something for your ears, something for your eyes. For your ears this week, it's actually a podcast. It's called the Southlake podcast. It seems a couple years ago in this little town in Texas called Southlake, a bunch of students made a little video where they were just shouting the M word. It got around, and people got upset about it, as they should. And the school said, well, we've got this diversity and tolerance curriculum that we've been working on. Let's get it going. And that's a great idea. And then along came the fucking morons, parents who were upset about it, like, you won't teach that Marxist stuff in the school. So right now, dad's out of a job and mom's blowing strangers down at the bus stop, but there'll be none of that critical race theory in these parts. Listen to it. You will get angry, but there are some fairly smart people in it. Remember, folks, hot water is hot. Cold water is cold. Facts are not up for debate. Up next, the other thing that I want to let you know about is because I talked last week about the movie Censor, about the British video nasty panic. This is a film called Ban the Sadist Videos, and it was put out in 2005, and it's a nice little documentary all about that panic that happened in the UK. It's a little unsettling because it just goes away. And when they ask them, well, why did the panic stop? They say, the British. And that's the actual, I'm not making up. Watch the documentary. That is what happens in it. So again, fucking morons getting upset about something. And I think maybe we'll send some bull semen out to some people out in Southlake, Texas.